All right, so this came in one of our salvage boxes from Amazon. Amazon Liquidation return came with a bit of an issue. This is a gimbal. So this is for holding your camera steady as you kind of move all around. But there's a problem that we're starting with, which is related to this power button. This power button is kind of inset, and so kind of the power button is always mashed on. So what I'm going to try to do is see if I can take this thing apart and figure out how to solve this power button issue and hopefully get this thing back to life, because it won't charge also with the power button in, nor can you push it on or off. I don't know kind of what the situation is. So we're going to take this item apart. It's, I don't know where to go from here, so we're going to do this together. I think I'm going to start by trying to expose some, something in here. We're going to split the handle, and then once I split the handle, I should be able to kind of see what's going on under here. I expect a battery and some circuit boards and some micro switches, but that's the goal. Get in there right by the power switch. All right, let's see how we can do. Just going to use a flat screwdriver, a small one. See if I can lift this up. Okay, it lifted up. It feels like there is some double stick tape under here, so I'm trying to be careful not to make the angle too severe, so I can peel that off. Okay, that did come off. So we got some double stick tape, and then maybe some access to some pry points. I'll do the same on this other side. Actually, I imagine, yeah, I'll try it on this side as well. All right, same sort of thing. Double stick tape. Hopefully the order doesn't matter, or the side doesn't matter, but so that was the second side. We've got a couple of slots there. So that was the second. There's the power button that we're headed after. So I'm going to turn it this side down so the knob's not keeping me off the surface. So this handle is just plastic. That sounded like it did the right thing. Okay, so I just a little pressure pushing down and twisting with this little flathead screwdriver. Let's see if we can do the same over here. Yep, it's just kind of snapping apart. Now the question is how much of this snapping apart can we get away with? I think this dial has to come off somehow. But I'm not certain how to do that. It's just a pressure. You just pull it off. That little. It's kind of like a stovetop dial, and on this side you've got the flat. It's like a circle, but with a flat end, so you know kind of where to line these up. Fortunately, we also see a couple of screws, just regular standard screw tip in there. So let me switch out my micro tool for a tip that should work there. It's kind of like a Phillips. I'll just put these tips all over here so I can access them. That was not intentional, but I don't want to do that more than once. Alright, so with that in there, you can see that I've got this tiny You can see I have this tiny Phillips head screw tip. Let's see if it's too tiny. I'll have to go the next size. I'll go a couple sizes up. So going now with this. So let's see. Yeah, so this is now just easily coming off. Not sure what this is connected to on the underside, so I'll try to be careful. So I've got those loose, pull this straight up. Alright, so I imagine that probably did not have much to do with whether or not we could get this apart, but we've got a little bit more space to work. Let's keep going. I see another kind of pinch point here. Let's do the same on both sides as we go until we can kind of see specifically like how to get out of here. I'm guessing, again, I bet this label, this is the Gimbal label, I bet that label is covering some screw that if I were to unscrew it, then I can kind of release this whole mechanism. So let me see if my hunch is right. I'm trying not to damage any of the finishes here either. So as I pry and twist from the side, it does feel like this this will come off for us. I do not have a sense of if it's taped yet. Yeah, there's definitely some adhesive. Looks like adhesive tape in there, so I'm just kind of carefully lifting and separating this from the body, and with no benefit. So we can see here that that it just is, there's nothing. So probably next thing I'd have to do is remove, oh shoot, how do I do this? Remove, I can't, so this area where my finger is pointing, so if I remove this top, I might get access to some sort of, I don't know, some sort of screw or, well, let's see how we're doing. It's just experimenting. Have no idea what's going to work for us. Have no idea if I'm going to turn this whole thing into garbage or not. But I'm kind of starting with garbage is the way I'm thinking about it. So I really feel like I need to try to get into this area. Let's see, there is an adjustment here that maybe if I remove this all together, and I remove the, no, it doesn't come all the way off. Alright. That was just a hope, but I'm trying to get a little bit better access to this end. Have an exact, or a utility knife. See if that edge is able to get in there a little bit easier. Try to catch an edge. I'm not trying to cut here, I'm just trying to get in under there. There, it seems like, alright, so made some progress and lost the progress. Alright. Well, that's a little bit lame. Okay, so now what we've done is we've exposed additional wires. Oops, sorry, I'll steady that here. My overhead camera. Ooh. But anyway, so we've got a couple of wires that have to turn the corner there. I thought I would get access to a screw head, but that obviously is not the way to get there. Got a couple bigger tools. Again, just experimenting, just trying to see where the next pinch point is. See if I can get away from it or not. Not making as good a progress here as I would like at this point. Alright, so this is now split all the way down one side into this ring. I'm going to try to do the other. I'm going to try to do it with this side. I'm trying to keep it with the control side up in case if once it opens, I don't want a bunch of stuff falling down. But not sure of the orientation inside of this thing. All right. So we're getting close, but we're prevented from getting this last bit open because of this ring. So what I can already see is there is a large cylinder battery in there. It's kind of purple in color, about the size of a finger. There's two of them, actually two very large cylinder shaped batteries. So now I'll probably do a little time lapse as I continue to figure out what is the best method to try to break into this thing from here, because I do believe it's up in this area. We've got to get free of this ring, but in doing so we've got to make sure that we don't kill those wires. So if I were to remove this handle from this area and there are wires on each side, as I pull them apart, you know, that's going to cause a lot of problems for us with the wiring. So I've got to be careful not to do that. But this ring thing is really it's quite the puzzle right now. So let me see what I can figure out. So it's kind of, as you twist clockwise, you hold this this ring and you twist the handle counterclockwise, like you're unscrewing until it stops. Then you rotate them both together, this outer ring and the handle, until it stops. Grab a hold of the ring, twist back, and repeat this until it is loose. Look at that, folks. I'm pretty happy about that. So what we have here is we have a ribbon cable that all we have to do is with this black top, I'm going to press it away from the white ribbon cable, and it should release for us. So I'm going to try to do that here. So I will, let's see, I think, well, I know that has to release. I'm just not sure the mechanism that it's using. Usually it's these pieces slide out, but I'm not sure if this black piece is actually going to slide out, because I see the it's got to slide out. It's just got to slide out. Oh, maybe it, I think what it does is it rotates up, because I see a couple of very tiny tiny gaps here on either side of the brown that look like they might accommodate this thing if I were to rotate it up, which I did. So I just kind of rocked it up, and now that should release this guy, which it did. Phase 1 of surgery done. Okay, now we haven't really wrecked anything yet, so that's the good news. Next step will be to separate this handle, as we were trying to do again in the beginning. I'm sure you already know this by now. I've posted it in the description, but just to reiterate, this is a Zhiyun Smooth 4 gimbal. So that's what we're dealing with right here. It's kind of cool. So back to the splitting. Do it on both sides. Try to keep the pressure to a minimum on the plastic housing by doing it on both sides at once instead of just on one side. Okay, now it feels separated in my hand. Usually what happens is you've got other cables that are connected, which is the case as well here. So as I just roll it open, you'll see that this bottom part with the switch has another one of those ribbon cables. So we will do the same as we did before. We will flip this black piece up. That will then release this. We've got to be careful that we remember what side is which. Up here it's pretty obvious. The contacts usually go up, I think. Anyway, this is blue side up. I may have to review the video to see what side was up on that first ribbon cable, but it looks like the blue side is up. Let's see. So I'm going to take this thing out. Now we've got just this main piece. Okay. What we're going to head for next is we're going to try to separate this this circuit board from the housing, this top piece. And in order to do that, we will have one more ribbon that we have to get released from this the side that dial thing. So this guy here is going to have to come out the same way that we did before. We'll lift that mechanism there. It's on the inside, so it's a little bit tougher to get at. Alright, these don't take much pressure and they're tiny plastic, so we've got to be careful. Alright, so that's released, and now I've got a bunch of just regular black screw heads, like Phillips style. Where is it? Like here. I think here. There's one down here. It's hard to do this in the overhead as well, but we'll go to the micro tool here. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, and pretty simple to release. So fingers crossed. So I think we're getting close. Screw 1. Done. My tool is not a magnetic tip, which I don't know, in some ways probably helps me, but in other ways hurts me. I'm not an electrical engineer. I have no idea if I should be avoiding certain things or not, so please, be very careful. I'm trying to use common sense and only touch things that are obvious to me, like screws, for example. I don't think there's anything that I need to worry about there, but we do have these two batteries. We'll get some details on those, but those are kind of silicon, like there's silicon caulk or something that is attached that's keeping them on the main circuit board here. Alright, that's number 5 screw, and then last screw, hopefully this will release it, but I'm going to hold my finger on this so that it doesn't just all come falling out, because I didn't want this to all fall apart from the handle. What I want to do instead is I want to lift this circuit board up and away from the handle. Let's see if I am able to do that. So I'm going to just kind of pry a little bit here with my screwdriver to get underneath, make sure everything can come out. It did feel pretty good there. Stuck up here on something. I wonder, oh yeah. So I might have to rotate out away from the USB charging side. I'm trying to be careful not to scratch any of the of the circuit, the soldering joints. All right, this is not, I think there's an order of operations problem. I think what I need to do next is I need to lift this little, this piece out of the handle. I'm going to try to just lift it up. Sure enough, it comes out. We'll set that there. The direction that it came out was shaped like this. So the little tab piece was pointing to the bottom of the handle, that little tab. So I'm going to try to keep that oriented correctly there. Now I should be able to kind of lift this near side, and as I kind of lift up, I can pull away from where it's hung into the USB connector there. So I will get my little flat screwdriver. I don't know, I really need that. So, all right, and there it is. Folks, that is surgery almost done. All right, so now you've got the inside of this panel. What you see are a lot of these soft, the soft underside of the buttons. So that's like a silicon button. These are just kind of silicon buttons, and those intersections, those little squares, are what tap down on these micro switches. The micro switches are located, this is the one we're after, this power button right there. And then this is a switch as well. And you can see some of the other black tip, those are switches that align with each of the buttons. I guess technically I can put the power on here and see if I can power it on, but nothing's connected, so I probably don't want to do that. So what I will do is I'm going to look at the power switch here. What may not have been clear in the beginning, hopefully these don't fall out. One of the issues that we're fixing is not only is the button in and depressed, it's also twisted. You can see the little tick mark is not facing directly up. So I'm going to turn that orientation, because actually what I see here is there's a little groove that this button is expected to orient to and snap into. That would allow it to fall away from the circuit board and outward on the handle, which is what we're looking for. So these, they're just easily removed. So what you have here is the button, but you can see a little tab right here. Sorry, I don't know how close to be, but this little tab right there is supposed to orient to this slot. Oops, this slot right there on the handle. That will prevent it from twisting, and once it can go down in that, it will be able to fall back to the correct position. So I think that will complete our repair. Yeah, and so as we do that, oh, let's try not to let all these other pieces fall away. They're kind of hard plastic. It's not as soft silicone that I thought it would be, but not a big deal. Anyway, you can see here that the orientation is up the top and it's seated flush. So that's the goal. Now we're going to just reverse all this stuff and put it all back together. So here in a minute you'll get to see whether or not this actually worked. I'm going to push on the switches a little bit and just make sure that they still actuate. Yep. So that you can just put your finger on that and you can press that down. You're going to feel it move up and down. All the switches are reacting. These are really cool micro switches. Alright, so now reverse order. So I'm going to rotate that side up to get the USB port aligned to this part that it sticks through on the handle. That's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screw these screws back in before I put the dial on, and then we'll hook up the. Actually, what I might do is I might follow along. We're putting it all back together. Here we go. Tweezers. So I'm going to lightly screw that down. I'm not going to put it in firmly at all. I want these to all tighten down kind of at the same time. I don't want to cause pressure on one side of the board. So mostly just trying to get these in. Just kind of contacting, but not snug at all. Okay. Definitely the tweezers help out. I'm holding it more upright than flat, and I'm trying to keep the sides of the tweezers away from the edge, so I'm turning it kind of long way, give me better access. Alright, so now I'm going to just kind of snug these up. Again, not super tight. There's not going to be any vibration. There's not going to be any movement around this. I think snug is enough. And then after I do snug, I'm going to test to make sure that all the controls work, that they feel like they're switching and pressing and all that good stuff. So just getting these snug all the way around. I imagine these are probably pretty easy to strip, these screw heads, so be very careful if you plan to get into these another time. Alright, so one thing I'm noticing here is the power button is inset a little bit. I might go back and do a little MacGyver. It actually pushes in, but I think that this is probably what led to it being twisted before. I think it kind of, when you push it down, you have the yeah. So you have the ability to twist it, and it should not be that way. What I'm thinking of doing is I might go in and then put a little spacer between that switch and the circuit, the micro switch, between the button and the micro switch. But that's going to be a really specific thickness, and I'm not exactly sure how I would build that up right now. I don't want to use metal because I don't want it to short something out. I don't want to use tape because tape is gonna be a little flexible and might break down with time. Ideally, I would have some hard plastic or something that I could build up under there. I don't know. I think for purposes of this video, though, I'm gonna just keep going just to see if the functionality works. So. Again, we just need to make sure that that power button is still oriented the correct way, which it is. Alright, so let's continue the reassemble. We know that this side dial is going to go here, and rather than try to fool around with getting this connected after it's set in, I'm going to just put this, oops, I'm going to put this in now. Oh, I got it on the wrong side. What am I doing? So blue side up. I got to make sure that that black thing is lifted. So this should just freely go in. I just kind of set it in the back, and then just so it's seated evenly, and then just lower that. As we said before, this was oriented with the tab to the facing the bottom. That just slides in, and when the top part of the control comes together, that'll snap it in. Man, that freaking button. I don't think I can do this. I think I'm going to have to... That button really bothers me. I'm just pressing it, testing it right now. It's responding nicely, but man, it is just very close to being like stuck under there again. All right. Next thing, so we're going to prepare this side, lift that black handle up. We're going to take this blue side up, maybe use my tweezers again. We're going to be very careful not to touch the exposed metal leads on the back of that. So be very gentle here. Sorry you can't see this. It's kind of an awkward position. Yeah, let me try this again. Oh, I guess there's a cheating way to do this, which I'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew these so I can put this down here instead of try to twist it up. I'd rather have that sure thing. All right, so we'll lift that out. Alright, so now we can put this ribbon cable in there, and you'll feel it kind of bottom out in the back. So there we go, that's now flapped down. I think it was this direction, if I'm not mistaken. And we get this thing back in. That was way better. Definitely recommend doing it that way instead of the way I was initially trying to feed it in. It's going to take a while. Probably damage some things that way too. Alright. Whoops. Again, just make sure that the threading feels nice and easy going in. Don't force any of it, because there's just plastic on the other side. It's going to strip out. Alright, so that part's done. I think we could line this up. So I'm going to line it up mostly on the dial side first, because that has to line up into these slots. Alright, so now that that's kind of lined up, I'm going to go ahead and snap this thing together. Alright folks, we're almost there. Button is still working. I'm going to leave all this other stuff off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this dial piece, and then we're going to see if we can get a charge going. Hold it up against the inside of the ring, pressed against the wall this way to see if I've got a better angle to attack. That's good. Okay, so now let's make sure we know how this thing is supposed to come together. There are a couple of, there's one peg right here on the outside of the ring that I think prevents it from over-rotating. So I'm going to try to figure out where does that go in here first. And it looks like there's a matching area just on the top of the inside of this ring that mates up with. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but it does seem like it's the right place for this. All right, and so now we're just going to repeat that thing that we did earlier, where we rotate while holding the ring. All right. So this is coming together. It was coming together, kind of feels like it stopped. Okay, now we're back into that. A little bit of progress one direction. I don't know. Anyway, I wonder, so we're just going to keep fooling around with that until it gets kind of locked down. That's good enough for me. Now I'm going to get the USB cable. USB cable. I'll plug it into the USB cord. Oh, this is a USB-C connection. That goes there. I happen to have a battery pack here. Let me turn this on. So this says on. Folks, we've got a light. Now, you see that blue light on. I have not seen that before. I guess I probably should have started with that, but please take my word on it. That was not working before. And again, I suspect because the power button was stuck in the down position. There is some tuning you're supposed to do with the gimbal before you start to use it to make sure it's balanced and all that stuff. I really don't know. I haven't done that setup yet, so I don't know if that's going to cause us any trouble or not. But I sure feel like pressing that button. I don't know how much power it's going to require before it starts, but I guess I'll try it. I pushed the button. Let me push and hold. Oh, it did something. When I pushed it and held it, this little, the target button lit up. I suppose I'm going to have to read the instructions at some point. But this video is all about how do you disassemble this particular gimbal, how do you access this power switch, how do I correct it from that twisted and stuck in the depressed position. And we achieved all those things together. So I think the rest of putting this back together is going to be pretty basic given what you've seen in the steps to get here. If for some reason this doesn't work, or maybe even if it works, either way, let me add on to the video at the end and see what that looks like. Hopefully I can demo this thing working, but I think at least this gives you the steps that you need in order to disassemble this this unit, which I could not find any videos on. So to recap, it's pretty basic. Remove these side trim pieces, pry this apart from either side, hold this center ring while you rotate this handle off, and then carefully disconnect those ribbon cables. So that's all I've got for you now. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the encouragement to do this. Please comment down below. Let me know if you have any improvements or any kind of critiques about this. I really appreciate the support. I'll talk to you soon. All right, I think the battery is low. It's got a red flashing light there. But I now have an operating gimbal. So this guy, this is in pan and follow. So if I turn like this, it will turn. Whereas if I set this to you and then I set this on lock, it just powered off. That's no good. Alright, so it's back. Did you see the thing rotated and all that stuff? Anyway, It's now on lock, which means it's trying to stay looking at you, even though I am all over the place. So that concludes this teardown, fix, and test. I really appreciate you sticking around for the final product. I've got all the pieces and parts back on and in place. Now we just have to learn how to use this thing. Thanks a lot.